Hi, YouTube. I'm in Atlanta today visiting the Martin Luther King Jr. National Historic Park. Born January 15th, 1929, Martin Luther King Jr. was born as Michael. However, his father, Michael Sr., changed his name to Martin Luther King Sr., so they changed Michael Jr.'s name to Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther King is what he's well known as, but he was actually born as Michael. Martin Luther King was a well-known civil rights activist. He had the March on Washington, where he gave the famous speech, "I Have a Dream," which at the end of that speech, he actually improvised the "I Have a Dream" speech. Slavery technically ended in the 1860s after the Civil War. It was abolished, however, there was still segregation. There were different schools that the blacks had to go to. There were different water fountains, different areas, different spots in public buses. Most notably, Rosa Parks, who refused to give up her seat on a public bus. Like I said, his grandfather was the second pastor at Ebenezer Baptist Church. His father took over as the third pastor. Martin Luther King was never the lead pastor at Ebenezer Baptist Church here in Atlanta, which is right across the street here, which I'll show you some video of the inside, some pictures. However, towards the end of his life, he did co-pastor with his father. Twice a month, he would lead sermons. His first of multiple funerals was held here at Ebenezer Baptist Church, and then they took to the college about 3.25 miles down the road. Martin Luther King Jr. was a civil rights activist, most famously known for his speech, the March on Washington, in front of the Lincoln Memorial, "I Have a Dream." Now, the end of that speech was improvised. The "I Have a Dream" portion was improvised. Have a speech that impacted that many people, that kind of movement, I think is pretty incredible. He went to Boston for college. He got his doctorate in ministry. His bachelor's was in sociology. He was arrested a total of 29 times, most of those being questionable arrests. One arrest was going 30 miles an hour in a 25-mile zone, which is just crazy to me. He was under investigation by the FBI. J. Edgar Hoover was not a fan of Martin Luther King Jr. He thought he was a conspirator with the Communist Party. He was under surveillance by the FBI. He received threatening letters from the FBI, pretty much wanting him to commit suicide, trying to convince him to commit suicide. I think Martin Luther King knew the obstacles he was facing, but he knew for the greater good of humanity and his people that what he was doing was right. And unfortunately, he met his demise in Memphis, Tennessee, in April of 1968. He was at a motel in Memphis, Tennessee, getting ready to have a speech or a protest there. Walked out of his hotel room, was making jokes with his drivers and his entourage down below. Turned around, went to go walk back into his motel room, and was shot. He fell into his motel room, told his friend he was okay, but his friend could see in his eyes that he wasn't. The accused, the guilty party was James Earl Ray, who was convicted of the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. A lot of Martin Luther King Jr.'s family believe that James Earl Ray was the scapegoat. However, there hasn't been nothing more in depth into that. But right now, James Earl Ray is the one that really committed the crime and killed civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr. Now I'm going to take you across the street and we're going to go visit his final resting place. Now, this is not where he was first buried. He was buried next to his father, I believe, and mother in Oakview Cemetery here in Atlanta, but he was moved here to the Martin Luther King Center. So he's buried now next to his wife, Coretta Scott King. Let's go take a look.
He's waking up from midnight till morn, and drying your eyes as you fall asleep in my arms. It's being your shield and holding your head, and finding a love as deep as I've known, and be your dad. So when your days are lonely and your soul feels worn, I will be your shelter. I will be your home. Whatever life hands you, wherever you've gone, and I will always love you. You will always be my son. It's the hardest thing that I've ever known, is loving you more than myself and still letting go. And I know you'll be better than I ever was, a better man, a better son and father, because so when your days are lonely and your soul feels bored, and I will be your shelter, and I will be your home. Whatever life hands you,
not be satisfied until justice rolls down like water, and righteousness like a mighty stream. What a beautiful resting place for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and his wife, Coretta Scott King. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., 1929 to 1968. Free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, I'm free at last. Coretta Scott King, 1927 to 2006. Now abide faith, hope, love, these three, but the greatest of these is love.
No matter the noise, you will always be my sweet boy.
Unfortunately, Martin Luther King's birth house is closed at the moment. I figured I would walk by it so we could take a peek. It's being restored among a few other items. But let's take a peek. There is Martin Luther King Jr.'s birth house. His dad and mom lived upstairs, and all three kids were born upstairs. Nice trash truck found, I'm sure. Martin Luther King holiday on January was first introduced to cities and states in 1971, but it didn't become a federal holiday until 1986. So Martin Luther King Jr.'s family had some questionable deaths as well. His youngest brother, so he came from he had an older sister himself and then a younger brother. His younger brother was a high school swimmer, a civil rights activist as well, and a reverend. A year after Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassination, his younger brother was found dead in his home swimming pool. The brother's wife says there's no way that he drowned, but it's just, how would he have drowned? But apparently they're saying he had a heart condition, and his sons, at least one of his sons, died at an early age from this heart condition as well. But it's just odd that he would have drowned in his own pool, being a high school swimmer. But you know, it's one of the many conspiracy theories out there. Also, Martin Luther King Jr.'s father was still a pastor at Ebenezer Baptist Church. In 1974 and 1975, a young man came in who was upset at the Christian and Baptist church. He came in during service and said he was taking over, and he shot a couple people, and one of the people he shot and killed was Martin Luther King's mother, who was sitting behind the organ at the time. Just very sad. And then after that is when Martin Luther King Sr. retired as pastor at Ebenezer Church. So thanks so much for following along. Hope you enjoyed the video. It's a very beautiful, somber place. Make sure you guys are liking and subscribing to my YouTube videos. Follow me on Instagram, as seen by Dave. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great day.